Welcome to Nintendo Voice Chat, our weekly Nintendo show here at IGN, episode 364. We've got a really great show for you today. Coming up on the programming, we're going to talk about Nintendo's latest console, not the Switch, the 2DS XL, and give you the latest impressions on games and the machine that just came out. Splatoon 2, we played it. Lots of single-player impressions in here. And then Mario Kart Arcade GP VR. It's a real thing. So all those topics coming up next. But before we get into that, I wanted to give you a couple of housekeeping items here. First of all, IGN is coming to television. So if you have cable and you're watching Disney XD, look for us July 17th at 9:30 p.m. Every week you'll get new episodes. You can also come to IGN and find some of that content on our homepage and on our YouTube channel as well. And then Comic-Con is coming up. We will be live all week from Comic-Con in San Diego. That's July 19th to the 23rd. On the 19th at 8 p.m., we're kicking it off with our pre-show coverage, and then every day we'll do lots of panels and awesome stuff.
Yeah, that's right. We're live 3 to 7 Thursday, Friday, and then we're live noon to roughly 8 o'clock on Saturday. We're getting a bunch of big stars in. It's going to be really cool. But we also have an awesome public-facing activation, a giant party on the 20th. That's at the Tipsy Crow. And it is a Dark Tower party, for those of you that are in the know. It's a Dark Tower-themed party, and we've turned an entire bar into the Dixie Pig, which is like a super famous bar in those novels. So it's going to be super cool. The layouts that we've seen for it are absolutely insane. We'll include the URL for RSVP in the show notes, and check that out if you guys are down in San Diego and Comic-Con and you want to come hang out with us. So
nice. So that's all about us. Now we're going to get to the show. With me here on this panel, we have Brendan Graber.
Woomy.
We've got Brian Altano.
Get the thing.
And we have handsome Zach Ryan.
I don't have a catchphrase, but I like yours.
Handsome Zach.
That's okay. Brendan, really good to have you back. If you guys know Brendan, he's been on the show before. He killed us all in Splatoon. Since we're going to be talking a lot about that game here, we figured it was a good idea to resurrect him, bring him back on.
You're reviewing it, right?
Yes.
Oh, yeah, there you go.
I can officially tell you that. I'm reviewing it, so look for it on Tuesday. Probably going to be a review in progress because you have to wait till the servers go up live. I want to see how it handles everybody else coming in, also the rank battles.
Sure.
But yeah.
Nice. Right now, you're mostly playing against Treehouse folks, right? And some other people.
Treehouse 1 through 45.
Yeah, there's a lot of people in the Treehouse.
Yeah.
Working on that Splatoon game.
Yeah, I get tree-hosed a lot in that game.
Tree-hosed?
What about a Tree Jose?
Yeah, they're well, we don't know who's who with their setup,
That's
but
true.
Maybe we'll see.
Who knows?
Yeah, if somebody shoots us extra hard.
Something tells me he's out there just inking it up.
He was awesome at that
Tackling.
game.
He's always watching us.
Me.
Yeah.
So let's get to the news this week. Actually, a lot of stuff happened that was actually pretty big.
Yeah.
2K, is supporting the Switch with NBA 2K coming, of course, later this year. They announced that WWE 2K18 is actually coming to Switch.
Yeah, and this is like a pretty huge deal because it's been a while since we've seen a WWE game on a Nintendo platform. Personally,
2013. That's how long it's been. Yeah.
27 years. I can't believe it.
Do you guys remember? I
Really?
mean, we all played Nitro and all those.
Yeah, so I was gonna
SmackDown,
say,
all those
I feel
games.
like the last wrestling game that I played on a Nintendo platform was probably Nitro on the Nintendo 64.
Yeah, they were pretty synonymous with the Nintendo 64 in terms of like 4-player multiplayer and the career modes. It was just the kind of thing you get around like a small standard definition television with the big butt to the back of them.
There was that sort of crummy character creator that let you personally I would always create my friends as wrestlers, and then you'd have these 4-player matches that was just all your buds.
There's a huge community around, they call them CAWs at CAW, the creator wrestlers, and it's just people being like, I made Batman, I made Doink the Clown, I made Bane.
Sonic beating Mario up
exactly.
Rumble.
They got more and more elaborate. I mean, once people really went to town with the character creators, it's like Mies, right? Like people just expanded and did awesome stuff. But the notable thing about this announcement is that we're obviously getting FIFA from EA as well, and as is often the case when you're getting a numbered or a yearly iteration of a sports game or a fighting game, sometimes some features are missing. So 2K is saying that's not the case with this. That is a full-fledged adaptation of the game that you'll find on the other consoles as well with all the modes. So
yeah, I mean,
awesome.
It definitely won't look as great as say the PS4 or Xbox One's version. I don't think, but who cares? I mean, I think the fact that you can bring it anywhere is really cool.
Wrestling is such a cartoon medium anyway. I don't think it you necessarily need it to be
Take that back, sir.
photorealistic.
Yeah,
Real me.
They announced announced that the Switch version doesn't have as much oil and sweat.
Yeah, that's fine. You might be able to tell that I'm not a huge wrestling fan, but I think it's really cool that this game is coming to
totally.
Nintendo platform for those of us for those that do love wrestling. Now they have a game to play.
I'm hoping it's like sort of the floodgates start opening for more and more third-party support. We all said, it'd be a couple months to a year before everyone started being like, well, you always hear that thing like, oh, we're going to wait and see how it does, and then we'll support the system if it's economically feasible. And so I think those doors will slowly start opening up.
I think we'll hear a lot more from Ubi for sure, right?
Yeah.
Ubi always backs Nintendo consoles, and I'm sure there are a couple of titles coming up still.
I also think that Ubisoft has a surefire hit on their hands in Mario vs. Rabbids.
Yeah. So that's an easy entry into that platform.
Yeah.
But
then, we're also getting Rayman got a release date for September. Rayman Legends.
The Super Nintendo one?
The definitive edition of Legends.
Okay.
Yeah. I don't think they're going to.
That's actually awesome. I didn't see that. That's really cool.
I don't know if they'll port the.
me too.
I don't know if they'll port that ROM leak.
You don't think that's going to happen?
Maybe not.
So 2K has a bunch of other franchises, right? I mean, there's Civ. I don't know if you guys play computer games, but Civilization 6 was awesome. They've got Mafia. They've got XCOM. I absolutely love XCOM.
Did you do an RTS on the Switch?
Huh?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, it'd be so good.
Pikmin 3 worked really well. And it was kind of like a RTS Lite because when you had the control stick.
Sure.
Just
look at the first thing that and I'm sorry to bring it up again, but the first thing that Mario vs. Rabbids got brought up when we saw it was it looked like a lighter version of XCOM.
Yeah, it is.
And
absolutely.
I think that you absolutely have. Look, the original XCOM made it to mobile platforms and stuff like that. There's no reason why XCOM or XCOM 2 couldn't.
I agree.
And there was a Civilization Revolution update for on iPad. Not as good as the console game. Like I love the Revolution console game. I'm so sad that wasn't a bigger thing. We have 4 copies in my house. We play multiplayer across Xbox.
I actually personally, I would love to see a BioShock collection from them. They put that on consoles a while back.
That little game. That would be really
That'd be
nice.
awesome.
Yeah, it's really cool to have that on Switch.
A couple other news items. The first video streaming app is coming out came out in Japan.
Yeah,
actually.
Nico.
Nico. You're a big fan of Nico. Watch it every day. And
I do. I watch it. No. But it's obviously something that we've heard a lot about here in the office because we deal with Japan a lot.
Yep.
Nico is one of their biggest streaming services.
Yeah.
So it is something that it's on our radar. So it's exciting that it's on Switch now.
Yeah.
Yeah. I haven't tried it out yet. You can obviously switch your Switch to Japan mode and download it.
I downloaded it.
Did you? The website lets you. It's like YouTube, but with annotations directly in the video.
It's like the elevator pitch for Nico is basically like, what if YouTube comments were blocking the video? Which is like, it's kind of interesting because it's like, as things happen, creators can put annotations in, but also you'll have the commenters' annotations basically pop up all over the video. So it's kind of madness. I downloaded it and I watched the most popular video on there. I believe everything's in Japanese, but you can kind of like fake your way through it. And it was a Let's Play of Kirby's Air Ride.
Yeah.
For GameCube. And just covered in comments in Japanese. And the occasional American one would come and be like, what the hell is this blank? So it's fun.
Here's my Let's Play of Kirby's Air Ride.
Yeah, that's the game that plays itself. It's that one button automatic win gameplay.
I kid.
But
There's
the cool thing about this is I think it will hopefully start opening up the doors for more actual video platforms to launch on Switch. They quietly just put this out there, and that means that we could get Hulu, Amazon, YouTube, Netflix down the line. I don't think we're that far away from, I would hope maybe by this fall, video apps just like quietly just appearing on.
Yeah, I mean, it's not a huge stretch. We had Netflix and Crunchyroll and stuff like that on the Wii, on the Wii U and the Wii, so it doesn't seem like it would be an uncommon occurrence to have these things kind of pop up.
Yeah, we know. I mean, some of the biggest Nintendo fans I know from back in the days who used to work for Factor 5 worked on a lot of video codecs for the console streaming apps, and Julian Egerbrecht from Factor 5 worked on the Hulu app and works at Hulu actually. So I gotta think there's a lot of stuff going on behind the scenes that we're gonna see those apps. We would love to put an IGN app on the Switch as well. We weren't able to get one on the Wii U, but we'll keep trying. Be really cool to just kind of do live stream like E3 coverage.
Can't you just call Miyamoto?
Doesn't work like that. Yeah, he doesn't pick up the phone anymore.
Not for you. Huh?
No. Ever since that
Ever
Wii
since
Music review, it's been. Nobody picks up.
That was a rough one.
Couple of smaller things. Arc System is releasing the puzzle game Boost Beast on Switch. It's notable. It's the same developer as Hey Pikmin.
Oh, cool.
Arzest. So it's basically a port of a mobile game, a little color match puzzle game. It's got double the amount of levels than the mobile game. So it could be a cute little game.
I took a look at this game in preparation for the show, and this game is not going to help any of the arguments of people saying like Switch is just a mobile machine, because this is the most mobile game that you could possibly have. I think it's cool if you're into that kind of thing. 200 levels is obviously nothing to sneeze at. It's a very mobile-centric game. It's a very color-matchy sort of
I'm
game.
all for mobile ports coming to Switch, but I think that they just need to fit the platform a little bit better. Like if you're going to port over those games, I think that something like Implosion did a good job. We talked about it last week, and I've been playing it a lot. It just, everything's unlocked at the gate. There's no microtransaction stuff. It doesn't feel like it's a mobile game in that just going through the menus and stuff like that. Like it feels like a console game on Switch, and I think that's the way to do it. When you're playing a game that feels too much like it's just a phone game stretched out.
So before the Switch launched, Jose and I went to basically a hands-on preview event that was Nindies centric, Nintendo Nindies. You know, that whole development or that whole area of Nintendo was really boosted around the launch of the Switch, and their whole thing was like, they were being very selective about what indie titles were coming to the Switch and things like that. And it got me really excited because I like to see the idea that they're sort of fostering this community on the Switch, and they've done a really great job of bringing things like Bubble Boy or not Bubble Boy, I'm sorry, Bull Boy, or like Rhyme is coming to the Switch soon, things like that. Like kind of handpicking these things. But then there's also this other segment that I see that's happening now where it's kind of like also all these mobile games, which is like a little concerning to me.
That's the old Wii shovelware problem, right? Once something has reached mainstream success, then you'll see some of the more casual games pop up. I mean, I don't mind it. You have a choice, right? Yeah. And like I do like having puzzle games installed on my system and taking it on the go with me, but they have to be good ones, right?
Yeah, I think the 3DS had the same issue. Yeah. I think probably worse than the Wii and definitely the Wii U did. But the 3DS, when you really dig around that shop, you'll find a bunch of games that are like, it's like Fox Jump, and you're like, what the heck is this? Like, this is like
jumping.
You don't want to see a Fox Jump?
I mean, of course I do, but like you gotta put some work into it, you know? No, they look like browser-based games that are ported over to like that 480p screen, and they're like $3 or $4, and it's like, I don't know who this is for. If it's for like children to part ways with their parents' money pretty easily, so if that credit card saved on there, I'm not sure.
If I could play devil's advocate to my own argument, I would say that I guess the TLDR version is that ultimately this is a mobile platform.
Yeah.
And so it does make sense for those kind of things to be on the Switch for people that picked it up because they're like, I love Zelda and I want to play this giant adventure, but the only other games that I ever play are match 3 games.
That's a good counter argument to what Zach said.
Thank you. Yeah.
We should add another chair on that end.
Just get up and run around to the other side.
Switch the
Evil
camera.
Zach.
Yeah, you can argue.
Well, that's like
Evil Zach doesn't have a beard.
To bring up Implosion again, the levels are designed around a mobile play, which means that they're small and they're concise and they're great, and you're done with them in a few minutes, right? And I think the Switch needs more stuff like that. So the Switch.
Couple of things on the 3DS as well. The 3DS is still around and alive. Miitopia, Hey Pikmin demos are out, and next week's episode of NVC is going to be hosted by Sam. It's going to have Zach and Brian on as well, and a guest. I think Casey may come back. I'm traveling in LA, so unfortunately I can't record that one. But they will talk a little bit more about those 2 games because you can play them now, and we actually have full versions.
Yeah, I'm going to be jumping into Hey Pikmin. Hey Pikmin. Pretty heavy, so I'm excited for that. I somehow managed to miss Pikmin 3 entirely.
Oh my god!
Wow. Go back right now.
Go back now. No, it's absolutely worth playing.
Wow.
And then Cursed Castilla.
This game's awesome.
Castilla?
Yeah, this game's really awesome. We did
came out on 3DS.
It's on 3DS now. I think it fits perfectly for that platform. I played it on PS4. We did some Let's Plays on Up at Noon. I believe we put those on the Up at Noon playlist on IGN. Yeah, very old school ghouls and ghosts and goblins. Hard as hell. Made by a very small team in Spain of guys who just grew up with those games. And it's like the monster design is really cool. The character design is really fun. It's very difficult, but if you're looking for like a kind of awesome, difficult action platforming game, like this is a great one.
So style-wise, it looks just like Ghosts and Goblins, right? Down to the character, the music sounds a lot like it. The difficulty, which Ghosts and Goblins obviously was famous for that, and like having you beat the game at the end, saying, "All right, you beat it once, now do it again." Right?
Yeah,
like that kind of mean, super harsh Super NES difficulty level. They're bringing back with this. It's got 8 stages, pretty diversely themed stuff, and then a new coin-op mode, so make it feel even more like an arcade game. And then obviously your 3D slider will work on this one.
Yeah, unless you're playing it on 2DS. Side note, Hey Pikmin cannot be played in 3D. Just found that out. That's weird.
Oh, yeah. A couple of games dropped
for the
3D mode.
Nintendo 2DS.
Yeah,
There
absolutely.
you go. And then just back to Comic-Con, obviously, we will be there. If you are in San Diego at the show, you'll see, you'll probably bump into some of the folks from IGN. Be sure to say hi. But Nintendo is also there. So they announced their Comic-Con presence. They'll have playable Mario Odyssey, Rabbids, the Super NES Classic you'll be able to see. Probably the only time you'll ever see.
Yeah, I mean, we got our first look at the NES Classic at Comic-Con last year.
That's when we first, I think we were one of the first outlets to just really grab that short controller cable and yank it and realize that
break it. Big
just did like this big thing like that. And it was like, I was like, oh, it's only 3 feet. That's not good.
Splatoon 2 will be there. Pokken Tournament will be there. Flip Wars, remember that? It was Project Mukuru.
Yeah.
It's all those little Halo guys and their butt stomping on that board.
That's one of the games that we saw at the preview.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it hasn't, it's called Flip Wars. Now it's going to be actually out on August 10th, so you don't have to wait much for it. But Nintendo will be there, so if you want to play any of these games, knowing Nintendo events, get in line early. Make sure you sit in there.
Grab a drink.
Nintendo at Comic-Con is always really cool because it's like a second look at a lot of the stuff that they brought to E3.
Yep.
And
so more refined for public play.
Yeah, and what's nice is that, well, it's not nice because the lines are still insane, but Comic-Con is so less centric on gaming that you can play these games a little easier. So it's going to be the public's opportunity to get their hands on Super Mario for the first time, like outside of the 15,000 people that managed to weasel their way into the LA Convention Center.
And wait 4 hours in line for that.
Yeah, exactly. But I think it's going to be really cool. And Nintendo always does a really great job of doing these cool activations around stuff at Comic-Con. Like they're doing a Splatoon tournament. There'll be a Pokken tournament.
Yep.
Yeah. They always blow out these big events that way.
Yeah, they always have really cool kind of statues and setups as well. So that's basically the news for this week. I'm sure by the time we post it, some major game is going to be announced and everybody's going to tell us.
N64 Classic
we didn't
announced.
cover it. N64 Classic? No, I wish. I want to talk a little bit about some of the games that we're playing. Last week we spent a ton of time on indies. Want to talk a little bit less about it so we get to some of the big stuff later as well. But Death Squared, you're pretty passionate about this.
I really
one,
like
right?
this game. Yeah,
this is out on Switch?
This is out on Switch. I believe it's been out on Steam for a while. It's the kind of game where you look at it and you're like, oh, that doesn't, that's like whatever. It's a bunch of squares and some robot levels. But actually playing it is really fun. So basically your goal is to move these blocks to goalposts that are hidden around the level and light them up and then move on to the next stage. And there's like 50 plus stages, but it gets really interesting because when you're playing in single player, you have to control 2 blocks, one with each Joy-Con. So you're basically using both sides of your brain. In multiplayer, each one of you controls one, and you can play up to 4 players.
Link Together Season 2.
Link Together Season 2. So it gets very frantic. We're putting up a Let's Play, I believe today. It's like 15 minutes long. And to me, it's the most fun co-op game I've played since Scribblenauts, which again gets into a lot of innuendo, like you push me over, get on top of me.
Did you mean Snipper Clips?
That's what I mean. Scribblenauts. Snipper Clips. So in terms of like Switch games that you can play like that, it's really, really cool. And it's only a couple bucks, just launched today. Really smart too. And it's got this sort of like Portal style test chamber VO with some pretty smart writing that's happening. And the levels are challenging. They're really fun. Definitely check this one out. Again, you're going to look at it and be like, it seems pretty simple in art style, but you give it a look. It's great.
When do you find time to play this? Is this while traveling?
Well, so this one, I've actually had a early copy of this game for a couple weeks now. Okay. So
also, Brian wakes up every morning at 3 a.m. to play video games.
Really?
For 6 hours.
I do get up early to play video games, though.
Yeah?
Yeah, and work out and, mostly play video games.
Maybe I should do that. And then when you're done, do you play games after that?
Yeah, I do.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then you played The Mambo.
Yeah, The Mambo just launched this week as well. And
Spanish for the Mamba.
Similar thing. It's got a single player mode with like dozens of levels, which are very, very difficult. But the main crux of this game is that you play this sort of ball that has 3 attacks, and it's all one button. Mm-hmm. So you move with the sticks or the D-pad, and it's kind of Smash Brothers style where you can jump with B or you can just hit up. And then your buttons are like basically short attack, kind of a burst, and then like a ranged attack. And it's all depending on how long you hold the button down. Nice. So you go through these towers of stages, kind of like old school like Mortal Kombat when you like go through each thing. Yeah. But in multiplayer, there's all these different objectives. You play 4-player, and it gets very chaotic because like hitting each other, smashing each other gets you bouncing around the stage like crazy, which can knock people out. So it's sort of like a very light version of Smash Brothers with some awesome single player stuff. Very small team of NVC fans who made this game, so it's super cool. So shout out to them.
That's rad.
But yeah, go check that out. Really, 2 really cool games on Switch right now. There's a couple other ones that I didn't really get to check out, like Levels Plus, which is sort of like Threes, and I and Me, which is a game where you control 2 cats, and it just didn't look super interesting to me. But
Brian, you hate cats.
I'm not a big fan.
Really?
Yeah, if this was about dogs,
Like
I'd be all
all
over
cats? Like what about like
lions
tigers?
are great. Oh, those are
Civet
great.
cats.
Yeah,
Cats,
Panthers.
cats.
Big
Yeah.
fan
What
of
about 2
Panthers.
horses?
Lynxes.
Basic ass cats, though, I'm cool on them.
Pass on
I
it.
had cats growing up. That's why I don't like them.
Like what about really tiny cats?
Those are good. No,
Those are
kittens, they're called. Yeah.
So you could maybe you can like switch them out when they get bigger or something.
I think.
Hey, did
that-
you guys remember that time that we were hosting that Nintendo show?
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh yeah. So Ever Oasis is out on 3DS. When it came out, we neglected to talk about it simply because we weren't just not in the same universe together. We both played it.
Unfortunately, yeah, I was out.
So you reviewed it
I did.
on the 3DS and you loved it.
I did.
Yeah.
That was really great.
And
Yeah.
generally, I
What
think
did you give it? You ended up giving it like a
10.10.
No,
12 out of 10.
8.9, just under the amazing category.
Okay.
Just a little bit, but it was really great. It's kind of like a cross between kind of Animal Crossing style, like town development, but they also, the developers, Grezzo, they ported over Ocarina of Time. Into
Yes.
Yeah.
It
So
shows.
there's this really like these dungeon elements where like you have your town to protect, but you also have to go out and like solve the ancient evil. And then there's all these little dungeons and caves you can explore with you and your villagers you can bring with you to battle. And it's kind of how it blends these things together that are really great. Like you're getting your villagers in, they build the little shops, they make money for you, and you're like, hey, cool, thanks for making money. Let's go on an adventure together. And if you've upgraded their shop, they're better in battle for it. So whatever you do in one area affects the other side. So you don't feel like you're just playing 2 different games. You're playing one connected game that everything you do helps.
Okay, that's really interesting to me because like I read your review. I sort of watched this game as it was coming out, and it looks really really cool. I'm super into the Zelda like dungeon aspect of it. I'm not into like town building. Like I've never been into like The Sims or anything like or the it's like SimCity or anything like that. So
Were you in Animal Crossing?
It's not like that. It's not.
a little bit, yeah.
But the problem with this game, honestly, is, and I like it a lot too. It's like a slower burn than the TV show The Wire. Like you got to invest the time in the beginning, and it's one of those Nintendo games that unfortunately tells you what to do. It's like now you have 2 seeds and you
Right.
can do this.
Yeah,
and it's
they
like,
don't really let you to hook to the very end of the game.
No, and then it tells you a little. It's a little bit too much. Hey, listen. But once you get past the basic mechanics of the town building, which is attracting people to come to your town, establishing shops, and then you can supply them with stuff, you get out. And then suddenly it has all these kind of action adventure, like almost Link to the Past, like sword play elements where you're exploring, a desert and a cave. And then it really takes off. And mechanically, it's really well done. Has really cute characters, good music, and everything.
It's also gorgeous.
It just
It's a
looks
really
beautiful.
good looking game on 3DS.
yeah, and like I mean, I think it's really cool that Nintendo took a chance on Grezzo after porting games to do something original like this.
It was made by the creator of Secret of Mana.
Yep. There you
Man,
go.
that's awesome. It's
Yeah.
So-
really cool pedigree.
Don't ignore it just because of the looks or because you're afraid of town building, because there's a good
Terrified.
action game.
It does get streamlined, which is nice. Like the second it gets like, oh, there's too many towns, like shops to keep track of. Like, oh, by the way, here's a little thing you just can centralize it, and then here stock everybody's stuff, and then you're done.
Oh, cool.
So
That's
like
awesome.
yeah, every time you think it's going to get too big, they add a way for you to streamline it or like assign other villagers to do it for you, which I always liked.
Oh, that's a nice touch.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good game. I saw it already dropped in price, so I don't think it's a huge hit out there. But if you're in for a bargain, just kind of keep your eyes open. I'm sure it's it's good.
Yeah, it's a nice addition to the 3DS library.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
It'd honestly kind of be nice to go back to the 3DS. I haven't played anything on it in so long.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess Metroid's not until September.
Well, let's talk about that mythical beast, the 3DS.
3DS and his
And
friend.
on our desk
the new
here, if you're listening to the show, we have the
Careful,
brand
careful.
new 2DS XL, of course,
Yeah.
which is Nintendo's reboot of the
2DS door, the door
what did we say?
stopper.
The challenged original
wedge.
2DS. Like, who's a fan of the 2DS, the original?
I'm a fan of the concept of it, but in practice, I don't like using it.
So it's a good machine for little kids, right?
Yes.
If you had the original DSs, the hinges always broke. And kids open and shut that stuff. They sometimes bend it too far. And the 2DS was meant to fix that. So you have this wedge shape that is, it's almost indestructible, this device. So it was a cool idea for kids, but, the form factor it's not pretty. and it's not awesome. And so the 2DS XL addresses that. It goes back to the clamshell design. If you haven't seen it, black unit, it actually has a textured pattern on the.
It looks really
top.
nice.
It looks really good. Yeah, give it to me.
It's sleek. I really like the color scheme. I like the black and blue. I think that they took a hint from Switch.
Have you seen Japan's orange and white one?
Yeah, that one's really cool too.
I think I might prefer that. Yeah. So, we put up a couple videos about the 2DS. I did an official unboxing video, and Casey also reviewed it for us, so you can get into really deep dive stuff. But I think just like hands on with it, I like it. It's definitely kind of toy-like, I would say. There we go.
Yeah.
But I don't know if it can't talk. Are you trying to put the microphone up to it?
No, I was just.
The speakers are weird.
So I'll get this stuff out of the way that I don't really like. Number one, the speaker placement is a little odd. It's in the front of the system, and sometimes I find out your system's about to die. I found out that like your hands can kind of block it. Like if you have thumbs, which you might have if you're playing video games.
I didn't have that issue. Like I was conscious of that too. So maybe I'm holding it a little wider.
Number two, the blue on it is not really sort of that like matte finish that you find on the Switch.
Gloss blue.
It's more of glossy, which nice for no fingerprints or anything like that. But it just has this sort of toy-like shine to it. The rest of the system is matte though, which I like, and it's got this kind of corrugated.
Yeah, you can grate cheese if you don't have a great.
Sounds like you're scratching your record. Yeah. The other thing is the camera placement is super odd on this thing.
On the top,
it's in the hinge.
Strange.
So you actually see it when the system's closed. It's peeking out, and then you'll see it again when it's actually open. So that's kind of cool. I did notice that the thumbstick on the inside was already leaving an indentation on the screen on the top.
It's an old Nintendo feature.
It's like
just
always
to remind you that it's there.
Yeah. Other than that, one of the things I do really like is that switching the SD card no longer requires you popping out the battery system. Yeah, it's got this kind of flap in the front of it where you also put you can switch games into it, which is really nice because you want to put some more onboard memory on there.
That's also nice for me because I a lot of times I put my 3DS in my bag and I take it out and the thing's falling out.
Yeah.
Like, well, my progress is gone for my game because it fell out.
It's $150. Launches at the end of July. Right now, I think we just got the blue color here in the States, and you get orange and white, orange and cream or whatever it is in Japan.
Yeah.
I do like it. It's toy-like. I think it's pretty awesome for kids, teens. Like, I think I'm going to stick with my 3DS XL.
Yeah.
Or my new 3DS XL. I don't see myself trading that in or anything like that. If you tried that system, the nub on this thing, that extra analog stick feels exactly the same. But shoulder buttons are nice.
It feels nice. It's got nice, it's nice and light.
It's very light.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It feels like it's well constructed. Yeah.
It's a peculiar naming sort of just to go through that.
Why not the new 3DS Lite or something?
Yeah, we've had the DS, the DS Lite, the DSi, the DS Lite or the DS XL, and all that stuff.
Mighty confusing.
3DS, new 3DS XL, 2DS. Yeah, it's just been a lot. But
I wouldn't dismiss it. Definitely don't dismiss it as kind of just a budget release because they did save a little bit on the screen, for example, right? There's a difference in the visual fidelity, but they didn't save on processors or anything. So it's not like you're going back to the original 3DS. It has the 3DS XL supporting the new 3DS XL games and all of that.
Sure. So what you're saying, like a game that'll push the system like Hyrule Warriors or
will run
like
on this
fine on that.
better than on the original unit. So more like the new 3DS. There are some smart upgrades that I would expect find their way into the more expensive tier as well. They're just a couple of smart things like the shoulder buttons, the lifted shoulder buttons, the way that all feels. Actually, the system feels really nice.
It's weird because Nintendo has kind of simultaneously ceased production on the new Nintendo 3DS. The 3DS XL is still getting made. The new Nintendo 3DS here in America was always a sort of peculiar one because we didn't really get the same suite of faceplates and customization options.
It was an
and I would have been all over that one, but like most of the cool ones are things you would have to import.
Right.
I would be.
Is that one yours?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'd be surprised if we saw another iteration of the DS. I feel like this is the end of that line for quite some time.
Do you know? I mean, it is really. It's like you're watching the evolution of a system here. And like if you guys ever see whale bones, they're like the rudimentary connectors to legs for the hips. On the back of the 2DS, you have two cameras, which of course are used to take 3D pictures.
Sure.
Which the 2DS cannot display.
That's the other thing. It comes with AR
It's really
cards,
funny.
Yeah.
Which the 2DS also came out with AR cards. But AR is surprisingly uninteresting.
Yeah.
when you don't have the 3D aspect to it. It's just like Mario's on your table. It's like, no, he's not.
Oh, yeah. Look, I mean, that obviously means it's compatible with, Nintendo image sharing.
Sure.
Yeah.
You'll be able to view those images, but it's just kind of funny that it has
the
vestibular cameras on the back.
Yeah, so I don't know if that means it takes 3D pictures but doesn't view 3D pictures.
I think that's what it means.
You can send it to your 3DS friends.
Yeah.
Also,
because I think the image sharing was always just set up with 3D in mind, so you cannot not do it that way.
Also, still no GBA port.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would be a big upgrade, wouldn't it? A GBA.
You think they just swan song it out, just one last one? I'd be down with that.
That would be.
And for those of you that waited all the way till the end of the line, here's a little bonus.
Bust out those old cards.
One of the greatest gaming libraries in history available at your fingertips.
We all know we're gonna get a Game Boy Classic Mini. Come on.
I hope so. Yeah, I really hope so.
It'd be cool if it was like green too. That they did completely updated.
Yeah.
Then GBA they can do all in color. So, folks, we're gonna take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to talk a ton about Splatoon 2, as well as this really strange Mario Kart VR game that surfaced in Japan. So stay tuned for that.
Listen.
Yeah, we'll be. Oh, sorry, I didn't see you there. We're back here with Nintendo Voice Chat, episode 364, second part. If you didn't watch the first part yet, you're really missing out. So go back. We're going to talk about Splatoon 2. Obviously, Nintendo's big first-party game coming out very, very soon.
July 21st.
Yeah, and if you're watching this show and it's, remember to keep an eye on the old Splatfest test fire public demo for everybody. Obviously, that's a really good chance to get a feel for this game. If you're someone who's ignored this game, and I've met a lot of people who said, I'm not going to buy Splatoon 2. It's predominantly a multiplayer game. I don't like shooters, blah, blah, blah. You're missing out because to me, it's kind of like, it's this true crossover between a classic platformer like Super Mario Sunshine, really, with the water and the spray mechanics, and, a shooter like PvZ or Overwatch, mixed together. And I think the multiplayer is actually very beginner friendly too, because you can succeed just kind of doing your own thing.
Sure.
But let's talk about single player first.
Yeah.
What do you think? This is your first single player Splatoon experience?
No, I
right?
played the single player for the first game. Yeah, I didn't play a ton of the multiplayer for the first game.
That's why.
But I think you hit the nail on the head. I think even more so than the first game, this feels not necessarily like a spiritual successor, but it obviously takes a lot of learnings from Super Mario Sunshine.
Yep.
And I think that it is really, really smart in the way
what?
Well, there's obviously the spraying mechanic.
Yep.
But I just feel like the locomotion especially feels a lot like Mario Sunshine. The platforming feels very
Shooting
similar.
windmills to make things move around. That kind of stuff. Yeah.
The verticality, especially, I feel like is very reminiscent. And it's just a lot of fun. Like it, more so than a lot of bigger AAA games, it just feels to me like you're playing as a contestant on a Nickelodeon show from the 90s. You know what I mean? Like it has obviously it's got this great neon color scheme, but it's just a blast to play.
It definitely has a really strong Double Dare aspect to it.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's just kind of goofy and wet and gross, but really neon and wonderful.
Also really good mood lighting and crazy lava lamps floating in the air.
Yeah, I don't think we've said enough about how really good looking this game is. The Wii U version was a good looking game, but there's this level of sheen and shine and polish to this game.
Sheen and shine.
It's sharper. So first of all, it is sharper.
Yep.
I can't believe how good it looks on the small screen.
Yeah, it's crazy.
It's obviously it runs in 720p when it's on your personal little portable monitor here, but it looks so sharp.
It really does.
There's no jaggies.
They made sure that it would always hit 60 FPS.
Yeah.
It is not dropping.
Yep.
Even when multiplayer, single player, it's just going crazy. I think in the lobby area, it's 30 FPS, but it stays there. But then everywhere else where you're battling, it's always very smooth.
Yeah, and I think that's because they load in characters and live players and little images. But yeah, the game is rock solid.
And I think the single player itself is very creative. I don't think it's the leap over the first game single player that some of us might have thought when we first saw those trailers. I thought this was going to be Super Mario Galaxy 3, and it's definitely Splatoon single player 2.
Yeah.
But that said, I really like it. I think the way the story unfolds, which we won't spoil, and some of the bosses are incredibly smart. But I think just the level layout is really brilliant. You have these hub areas that kick open to little sub-levels that you need to find.
Teapots.
Yeah, teapots. And then opening those, and it seems like each world has more and more of them, right? The first one has a few, and the next one has a few more and a few more. And each level in those worlds has two main items that you need to hunt down and find that are just kind of secondary options on top of just getting to the goal, and they're very tough to get. Like they're
really well hidden.
They're really well hidden. Like I think there's going to be a lot of replay value to going back and finding those.
Stick with me on this one because I feel like this might be a bit of a walk, but I feel like a lot of the hidden stuff in Splatoon 2 reminds me a lot of the hidden stuff towards the end of like Planet Robobot, where you're not necessarily solving puzzles in Splatoon 2 like you were in that Kirby game, but they're so deviously hidden that you really have to wrap your brain around some stuff to figure out how to, like, there's so many times where you're shooting through the air to go to the next area and you can see a platform and you think, oh, I missed that platform. And I really thought I did such a thorough job of exploring that particular hub, and like there I can see that there's something there. How the heck do I get it?
My frustration with that is that a lot of times you notice that past the point of no return.
Yeah, you can't go back.
And you got to start the level over, which is fun and moves quick. Yeah, they're bite sized.
It's very old school platformer, right? Yes, there's an area where you drop down through these deep fried calamari rings. Which that game has an issue.
I'm going to say right now, this game has the best. This has the best looking onion rings I've ever seen.
Yeah, that's true.
Let's hope they're onion rings, not calamari.
Like I'm trying to eat healthy. And I'm playing this game and I'm like, oh, I want tempura shrimp and onion rings so bad now.
As you know, there's a tempura shrimp character.
Who
fried him?
Who serves tempura shrimp?
I know you really.
What's going on with that
as well?
Are those his kids? We should talk. Bill Trin, what's going on, man?
So you fall down through these rings, and you have to kind of steer. It's like very vertical, like in Sunshine. But unlike in Sunshine, you can't catch yourself with a booster on you.
Right.
And so you may miss something. You're like, oh God, and then you do have to retry the level. So it becomes this kind of quest to for some secret items and to do better and gather them over time. Of course, it saves what you already found, so it's not super mean.
There's a lot of like you find yourself sort of peeking around every corner, dropping through grates and platforms that you didn't normally think you should go through, spraying walls that just seem inconsequential and being like, oh, I can actually jump up that to the top and then find a secret up there, and then finding those things, like I said, like it's sort of. Well, I don't want to spoil what it does, but it's cool stuff and it's worth getting. But if not, you just get to the goal and you get a bunch of goals in a row, and then you fight a boss. But even in those hub worlds, there's like kind of Sunshine or Galaxy-esque. Kind of sort of the way you would get stars playing Mario 64 just out in the castle somewhere. There's little things you can do with like balloon mini games and a couple other things that you can find. They're really fun.
Yeah, I want to go back to the replayability. There's one thing that I think they really took note of from Splatoon 1's campaign where you just had a blaster and some bombs, and Splatoon 2, they start giving you all the different kind of weapon types, and they'll go like, okay, for this level, we want you to use this one. And then once you be like, oh, but if you want to use any other weapon, you can replay it and you can try it with a different weapon. And so there was one where I had like, the sniper rifle, and it's like, you guys shoot the targets from a distance. I'm like, okay, well, how am I going to do this if I replay it? So I replayed it with like the dualies or something.
Oh, shocker. Like, Brennan's using the dualies.
Love those dualies.
He's dead.
And so they're like, oh, you can't reach them, but they'll add like platforms and they'll go throw you a bomb instead. And it works. And so they'll account for how weapons are different. And even if you're playing a weapon that wasn't meant for that stage, they'll take into accommodation, they'll add something or they'll make a platform different so you can replay it and you learn how to use weapons, which is awesome.
I didn't even notice that, but yeah, I love the upgrade to have the switching weapons. That was one of my issues with the original game. I love the mechanics. I enjoyed the single player, but you felt like, if you were a roller multiplayer game, like the single player just kind of made you play only one way and then a different
There's
way.
a better way of teaching you.
This one, it's like it's having the tutorial in the game. By the way, tutorial is mandatory again, like in the old game. So if you are going to play in the Splatfest, make sure to just download the thing first, play through the tutorial so you can jump right in, because obviously there's precious little time. I love the new weapons. Obviously, are really cool. So the multiplayer servers for press and Treehouse and testers went up, a couple of days ago, and we've been able to mess around with that a little bit. What do you guys think so far?
Brennan and I have played a pretty fair amount of Salmon Run together, and that mode is
local, right?
Yeah, local. Yeah, no, I guess we did play local yesterday too. But that mode is stupid fun.
It's so great.
It's like
really,
where
really
single
cool.
player kind of holds your hand a lot and goes like, oh, you need to do this now. Like someone's like, hey, you can choose the difficulty, but if you're over like 10%, you're gonna die.
A lot.
They just throw things at you, and even knowing what's gonna come at you, but the order and like there's little changes they'll make, or like maybe the tide will rise up and you'll have less room to do, or the tide will rise down and like your egg catching thing will be out on the shore where all these guys are coming from. Then you'll have like 3 bosses coming in from behind you. You just start screaming.
It gets so frantic.
Yeah, you end up in this like four person back-to-back like action movie formation.
Yeah, where you're just shooting everything.
Yeah.
And like it's very interesting too because it's like you're trying to ink up everything, but that also wastes your ammo, which you need to like duck down into to reconserve. So it's not like what you would expect from your sort of traditional horde mode because you're fighting your own ammo conservation, which then depletes and repletes. But then you're also fighting the environment. That's right, I said replete.
Repletes?
Yeah, I'm doing it. I'm saying replete. And then you're fighting the environment, which all of a sudden, like the tide comes in and the level is a quarter of the size it should be. And it throws just like waves of enemies at you, but they're very rarely just the same ones over and over. Like you'll be fighting 4 of these like disgusting little like fish. And then all of a sudden this like 40-foot long snake train of paint will come in and you're shooting them.
Made from gas canisters.
Yeah,
right?
and then you're all like
anti-pollution.
It's so gross. And you're screaming at each other being like, get the eggs, splat his butt and steal his eggs.
I love how quickly language around that game develops when you're playing locally.
Yep,
right? We have like this is a really cool game to get together with 4 people and just connect. By the way, connection super fast. Even at IGN where we have all these Wi-Fi and wireless signals, no problems.
I did have some Wi-Fi problems online, but that was because I was in the Bay and that's like really closed off.
Online, no, for local, it was rock solid for us. And then the language that develops is like eggs here. You know, it's like you take down an enemy and like this
tower. Oh, there's a snake on the North Shore.
Fat head.
Yeah. One of the things that I really love the additional character design in Salmon Run. I think it's really funny. I think those characters are really endearing. They're really like nasty little fishmen. Yeah. And then like you were talking about that snake. That snake is being powered by a fish on a bike at the end of his tail. Like if you look at it, that fish is just like out there.
Yep.
That's what this podcast needs more of is side gags. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
But I just really I think it's a really clever take on a horde mode. And yeah, I don't know, I've played probably 10, 15 rounds with you, and we've had like a really good time.
Yeah, so we've tried like low difficulty, high difficulty.
Yeah.
We went to 100%. We're just like, things are just way too crazy.
Yeah.
And so the bummer is kind of that you can only play online at like specific intervals currently, but you can play local whenever.
It's not like Splatfest where you have to wait, or like in Overwatch where you have to wait for an event for a long time. This is frequent in the week.
Yep.
Yeah.
You can do it. And then, the local you can, of course, do anytime.
Yeah. One thing I had to check is with local, it was a lot of communication based, especially in high difficulties. So I want to see if you're playing online and you don't have the voice chat, are you going to be able to survive?
Yeah.
People just run around circles screaming and they'll die.
So there's a lot of stuff we can't show you footage of Salmon Run yet. There's a lot of information that's embargoed before launch. The one thing I will say about all the online about the Salmon Run and the single player campaign, it's evolved in a lot of ways. Salmon Run is awesome, but AI is very simple. And when you're fighting octolings in the single player mode, there's not a lot going on there in the brains. They are homing missiles. Everyone's a homing missile in this game when it's a computer AI or on a track, right?
Yeah.
And then they can detect you and come after you. So don't expect Salmon Run to be like a horde mode where you have these kind of one-on-one battles with very powerful enemies. It's very old school, kind of pattern-based, right? Like the snake will come and it'll try to kill you by ensnaring you so that you have no more room left. It's that kind of strategy, that kind of AI and strategy that will develop from it.
It becomes a lot about learning how best to defeat a boss and also think about the patterns of like, if there's 3 bosses, who do you go for first and who you have to be mindful of that's coming up behind you? So like, I know how to defeat this one kind of boss, but if there's like, 5 bosses coming at me, I'm just like, okay, I'll try and throw a bomb at him. Oh man, he's coming at me. I got to run away. So there's a good like give and take there.
So I just start screaming.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a good. Yeah, that's a good.
It doesn't work.
Screaming is a good trick.
It's true. They can't hear it, but it helps.
Yeah. The Splatfest obviously is live this weekend. If you're watching this on its original posting day.
Team Cake.
Who are you? Cake?
Team Cake.
What are you? It's cake and ice cream.
Ice cream. Yeah. Ice cream.
Yeah.
Also, Marina. Like
I do like.
Let's
Marina,
talk about the character design. Marina and Pearl. Pearl looks like a total brat.
She's
right?
a gremlin.
Yeah.
And like I feel bad for her, but like stop making that face. Marina is absolutely adorable. She looks kind of like lost and worried about the world, and then she's all like nonchalant when they're in their little DJ booth,
just like quietly chilling on the turntables.
Scratching, like whenever they show a new level, she just goes.
I really want an amiibo of her with turntables because
I really love them both.
Yeah, so great.
I think they're both really cool characters.
It's a great combo of characters again, and it's got this, the whole kind of hub world is this weird like Japanese Shibuya kind of like very it's so Japanese, but then it's like crazy colorful with all these squids and octolings.
And
Marina is an octoling, right? She's got tentacles.
Kind of a weird unspoken thing. It's like, aren't you the enemy? But okay.
I'm really excited to see what this game looks like in a year.
Yeah.
When all these different character customization options are available and stuff. Like, it's gonna look so cool.
Also,
right now,
so super colorful.
Miiverse is dead, but they're still able. You can still post pictures.
Yeah.
So for Splatfest, like they all come up and they're shown around.
It's not. I mean, there are a bunch of really cool improvements. Obviously, the game is going to do what the first one did and release content over a long period of time. Makes it a little bit more difficult for a reviewer. Now that we've seen Splatoon, we know that it delivers on the promise of bringing good maps out over time. But some of the stuff you've seen at E3, like the Brella, for example, is not available in multiplayer at launch. That's kind of the stuff that will be rolled out over time. I dig that because it gives you a reason to go back and try something new.
Yeah.
I can't wait to try it.
But for some people who just want a ton of variety in the beginning, it might be a bummer.
Yeah, but luckily every update that they've had in Splatoon 1 is going to be in Splatoon 2. So you have like the paint bucket and the paintbrush. You have a bunch of older maps, and you have the tower control and splat zones from the start. So I could see there being more modes for both ranked and maybe even like a new Turf War.
The bucket is surprisingly versatile.
It's really good.
But also, your comment about the bucket reminded me that one of the things that I did want to mention was that the localization is awesome. It's so funny. This game has made me laugh out loud 4 or 5 times in the time that I've spent with it. It's really, really good.
Yeah, the writing is great.
smart.
The puns are
I kind of want to steal some puns from my review.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
The moment that so each level where you're introduced to a new weapon, you get like the what's his name, the guy that's
Sheldon.
Yeah, Sheldon. He talks to you and he tells you what the weapon is, and he gives you this detailed rundown. And when you get the bucket, he gives the name is like the Hero Splatter or something like that, and he tells you all about what it does, and then like there's a beat. And then he goes, "It's just a bucket." And like, it made me laugh so hard. It's like such a good gag.
You can fast forward him, by the way, this time, which is nice.
All the new gear is really awesome. Like that loop is really cool. There's just really dope shoes in this game. Like they're just awesome height. I'm like really big into like Nikes and stuff like that. And just the kicks in this game are great. Like my character now is just like rocking awesome sunglasses and like a cool jacket and like really dope shoes. And I'm like, I just love, like I felt like the first game was kind of like 90s Nickelodeon, and they've modernized a lot of the style. If that's something you care about, that's there.
Some moto boots.
That's awesome, man. Like there's just like really cool stuff in this game.
Lots of good stuff in there. There are two big things missing. Obviously, we haven't been able to test the voice chat yet because the app isn't live yet, even for testers. So we'll be seeing that. And then for me, still the glaring omission is switching loadouts on the fly while you're matchmaking and you see what your opposing team has.
Right.
It might just be that they fundamentally disagree and think that it should be a surprise every time you start, and that you cannot kind of adjust your weapons based on what your opponent's sporting.
I don't mind switching mid-battle. That I agree with that, but when you're in the lobby waiting, sometimes for like 2 minutes, if the servers aren't up, you can't do anything.
That's been an issue for me too. You click into a match, there's like 5 people there, you're waiting for 8, and then you just watch this sort of timer pinwheel until it runs out. And then it's like, nope, and you get kicked back out. And you can't really go anywhere from there. You just have to
You can
wait.
mess with the music. Have you noticed that?
No.
The left stick speeds up the music.
That's kind of cool.
That is all you can do, though.
And then the right one is like a kind of like a filter. It changes like a flange filter.
There's no squid jump minigame to play anymore.
You can hit X to do the Jose Pizzicato thing like over and over and drive people nuts with that. Loadout switching. I'm hoping it's a future update that will come. It's confounding to me that that's not a thing for this game.
Kind of shocking.
Because I love the versatility, and sometimes when you have a good team, you just want to go, oh, I'm gonna have my revenge now with a roller. Or
you don't want to go like, oh, like this is a great team. I gotta go buy some shoes. I'll see you guys later.
Right.
You can, however, you can save your loadouts to amiibo. So if you have multiple Splatoon amiibo, if you've got Callie and you've got the original Inkling
girl,
you can put different weapon setups on each one of them and so quickly switch, just not in the lobby.
Right.
You have to do that out in the
which
the
is
world,
where
hub.
you spend a lot of time waiting.
Cool. So let's move on. Obviously, we're very excited to play the Splatfest. Look for us. I think we're all playing. So you might get lucky or unlucky depending on how good you are. You'll probably readily destroy us. But look for us and be kind.
Do we know? Is there any like tournament customization or anything like there is in Mario Kart down the line?
There are lots of setups that we can't talk about.
Well, yeah, we should put together a Splatoon tournament.
Yeah, I do think we'll probably. I think I talked with Mitch. We'll probably live streaming Splatoon next Friday when it launches.
Nice.
And we'll see if we can get like actual battles going.
Yep. Cool.
But yeah, there are a couple of things. I mean, this game is built for esports too, and he's got LAN mode, which we can't test yet, but lots of cool features hidden in there that we'll be able to talk more about soon.
Do you think this is the cutest esport?
Yeah.
Well, I can think of
Yeah. Although those Zerglings were really cute. Remember those?
What about Hot Ken and Street Fighter? Huh?
Oh, that's pretty good.
Think about it.
Mario Kart Arcade GP VR.
Yeah.
So for me, this came out of nowhere.
Right.
Were you guys surprised to see,
I didn't
see this?
see that coming either.
So our IGN Japan team went to VR. It's called VR Zone in Shinjuku. Shinjuku is pretty central in Tokyo. It's a nightlight and amusement district. Lots of movie theaters. I used to go there every weekend for the movie theaters. And they have a ton of arcades there as well. And this VR Zone setup is pretty special. So on July 14th, Bandai Namco, obviously Nintendo's partner on the development side for the original Mario Kart arcade machine, but also Smash Brothers, they presented this arcade GP VR experience. So before you go, oh, does that mean I strap a Switch to my forehead? It's actually using the Vive.
Yeah.
And so you're sitting in these kind of fully articulated carts. They kind of tilt with you. They have a steering wheel. You've got the trackers from the Vive on your hands. So when you have your hands on your steering wheel, you see them in the game because it's a first-person Mario Kart.
Right. Yeah. It's also got some weird motion stuff in the chair.
Yeah.
It actually moves and vibrates. Yep. And there's a fan that blows wind. So it's sort of like a weird, like kind of hokey, like 4D experience.
It's like an all-encompassing experience.
Yeah, but I kind of love it. And like if you've ever tracked what the Mario Kart GP arcade machine series has done, they've been able to sort of Trojan horse a lot of weird ideas into those games that you never see in the home versions. Like Pac-Man, like a camera that takes a picture of your face and puts mustaches on it so you can like have your own avatar. I mean, if you live in America, these pop up at Dave & Buster's and other arcades sometimes here and there. But this one specifically, I think that there was it the Wii version that had a first-person mode? Because other than that, we don't really see a lot of first-person Mario Kart, but we've got some gameplay footage on IGN. You can check it on YouTube also, and it's straight up first-person Mario Kart, like what it's like to throw shells and bananas, and it looks so much fun.
Crazy, and I'm so jealous that we are not.
Dude, this arcade opened a week after I was in Shinjuku, so I got home and we put the story up. I was like, no, I gotta go back.
So they changed the mechanics, so it's no longer question mark blocks in this game.
Yeah,
it's actually balloons. So when you're racing around, you get your first person view of the track. A balloon is there, and you can actually reach out. Remember, you've got trackers on your hands. You can reach out and get your item that way. And so then when you have a green shell or a banana, you can actually physically fling it with your hand. It's not a button to deploy.
That's awesome.
And so, first of all, everybody, of course, looks like idiots playing this game with the lost puppy, and then waving their arms around. But like it is, Daniel Robson, our editor in Japan from IGN Japan. If you read Japanese, you can switch the language and check out IGN in Japanese. He did this impressions piece for us, and he absolutely loved it. Yeah. He said it was a rush. It was 4 players next to each other. I remember when I was in college in Japan, we would go out, for drinks after classes. We'd always go to these arcades, and Japan just had these amazing setups. You saw the Luigi's Mansion machine and did with Capcom, right?
So cool.
Big setups. They had like games like Hang On, and like I'm dating myself a little bit, like Afterburner. Yeah. But Afterburner was this giant wheel. I think it came here afterwards as well. There's this giant cabinet that would tilt into any direction. In Japanese arcades, you'll always find something special and crazy like that. One play is usually really, really expensive, like it was like $5 to play one of those. But just it makes it really special to go out and try these games.
Yeah.
I gotta say, if Mario Kart VR goes the way of Mario Kart 8 and we have Upside Down in VR,
oh my god!
You look up and you're like, oh god, there's a floor, I'm gonna fall.
Yeah.
And like, or if you fall off a cliff and like save you, it's like,
Yeah, I think that's a really interesting point because in Mario Kart 8, when you're on those tracks,
Things get crazy.
Yeah, like it does get crazy, but you don't often register like, oh, this part of the track is just upside down. Yeah. So like that experience in VR when you actually can feel like see yourself going inverted. Yeah.
I want to see what it looks like when you get hit with like a lightning bolt and you shrink. And like Wario's butt is like 70 feet tall in front of you. Man.
Yeah.
I just love to. I mean, these arcade machines are all made by Japanese companies, right? You got Capcom with Luigi's Mansion, with
Luigi's Mansion is so
Amusement Vision. Sega obviously was behind F-Zero. GX and AX was the arcade machine,
which was really cool because you used to be able to bring your like GameCube memory card and plug it in and upload your custom car and stats and everything.
And then AX actually had special tracks that were super hidden in the home version. And like we haven't seen like with F-Zero, we haven't seen Luigi's Mansion or Mario Kart GP come home. I would love to see that. Obviously, you know, Mario Kart feels very, very different, especially with the steering wheel setup and everything. Feels very different from Mario Kart 8 and you know the games we're used to on consoles. But it'd be really cool if they could double dip on that and give us
totally agree.
Like give us a Nintendo arcade collection or something with these games.
That'd be awesome.
Really cool. So that's Mario Kart GP in VR mode. If you're going to Japan, definitely go to Shinjuku and check that out. Hopefully, we'll see those stateside someday.
I really hope they come here. Yeah.
The Mario Kart GP is in a specific VR arcade, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and they have a ton of cool stuff. Caleb and Andrew Goldfarb went to Japan just before you were there,
right?
And they wrote up a feature about that particular arcade, and you can read about all the games that are in there. And they had just an amazing time.
It's not turnkey, right? Like it's hard to put something like that into a regular arcade because you still have all the setup, and like a lot of people are not familiar with VR and struggle with the setup. So you have to have attendance with that. But really, really cool idea that just came out of nowhere. What's this mean for their partnership with Namco? Will we see more stuff like that? Hopefully. Right? Yeah. We still don't know who's making the Metroid Prime game, so we'll see.
Pac-Man.
We'll see if there's like a Metroid Prime roller coaster arcade game coming.
I would be totally into
pinball.
Yeah, there we go.
A real pinball machine would be
and you're
so
the ball
cool.
that you just throw up everywhere.
Remember that? So that's that. We skipped it last week, but we are going to get to some viewer questions this time with our question block.
That's right. These are specifically from our NVC email, which you can hit us up at
nvc@ign.com.
Oh, man. Yeah. And also we got a Facebook group, which you can go to. It's facebook.com/group/Nintendo Voice Chat.
Yep.
Yeah, there we
go.
that
you remembered that, but you couldn't remember 9 letters.
No, I was just doing a little test.
There's actually the
about?
voice chat forum. So there are two, right?
Yeah.
There's a group that you can follow just to get an update when the show is live, and then there's the NVC, the Nintendo Voice Chat forum. So that is a community run by fans of IGN and NVC. Wonderful people.
Yeah.
Who cool talk about everything Nintendo, sometimes off topic as well. And we occasionally dip in there and confuse everybody.
Yeah, really cool group. Go in there and say hello. Be nice. So we got some questions this week. I pulled them from the emails. Matthew Ford asks, with Mario Kart VR available in Japan, what other Nintendo games would you like to see get the same VR treatment? A pair just pitched his.
Yeah.
I feel a first-person Metroid could be interesting, but I think a more probable possibility is a Nintendo Land VR experience similar to the Wii U game. What are your thoughts? Thanks again for reading, and keep up the fantastic work. Thanks, Matt.
What do you think, Brendan?
I would love to see Pikmin in VR. Just that, because I don't see we've seen a VR game where you're kind of like a very small person in a giant forested land.
Right.
Sure.
And like those weird, like, they put like the giant batteries like right there. Or like directing Pikmin with you and like taking like a giant boss in VR would be really cool to see.
That's a really good idea. Yeah. I love any of the VR experiences where you're smaller are really unique. I think you know I'm still a big fan of Batman VR on the PlayStation VR just because of the way it made you feel when you're standing on a ledge and looking down. Right?
Yeah,
like that kind of sense of height and scale is always really cool. I don't know if you guys saw there was a YouTuber who created this Mario VR video, Mario AR video where he's like walking around in real life and he sees like the Goombas and the mushrooms and the pipes. Like being in Mario's world would be really cool, like just a VR experience, because I always feel like VR is better as an experience than as a game. For me, at least.
I agree. And like, you know, we cover a lot of PlayStation VR stuff on Podcast Beyond, and we see stuff like Batman, and then we also see stuff like the Spider-Man Homecoming PSVR thing, which was like a very sort of truncated bite size. And I think like the sweet spot is somewhere between those two things, right? Like, so that's why I think like a Metroid experience would be awesome if it's sort of just like walking into Fendrana for the first time and seeing the visor effects, seeing your your mass steam up, like looking down and sort of like charging up your arm for the first time and shooting off a couple of blasts at like a big enemy. That would be really cool. I'm a big fan of Trackmania on PSVR. It's like a Ubisoft sort of like roller coaster, Hot Wheels racing style racing game, and I'd love to see something like that for say F-Zero.
Yeah,
Star Fox would be another great one. Barrel rolls could get a little tricky.
That's what I was gonna say.
Yeah,
that's what I was gonna say was
awesome
Star Fox in VR.
Yep.
Yeah.
I want F-Zero.
I know, buddy. You get this. You get this like wistful look in your eye when you talk about
that. Was
F-Zero.
one of my favorite franchises. You know,
it'll come back
on the Super NES. Just the Mode 7 blew my mind at the time, and then I really loved X on the N64.
I know.
It looked graphically, it looked so sparse that a lot of people didn't play it, but just the amount of racers and the tubes and construction kit,
it's so
afterwards, cool. And then GX was so good. Man, come on. Give me another F-Zero.
Now that we have Metroid coming, maybe you can start a campaign for F-Zero.
Yeah.
So every time we come on,
I think Nintendo's being awesome this gen, and I think we're gonna get a new F-Zero by the end of this. If they're putting out a game a month, they got to get there eventually,
Fingers
right?
crossed.
Yep. What else you got?
Ryan Farrell asks, hello, Nintendo Voice Chat. My question, do you have any theories why Splatoon 2 hasn't embraced a 2-player local mode? From your friend north of the border in Ottawa, Canada, Ryan.
I do.
So yeah, split screen, what's going on with that?
I think it's because Nintendo really wants to hit 60 FPS.
Yeah, I think it's a frame lock issue.
Would just not be able to do that.
Interesting.
And like they are very, very in on that. Like it's kind of funny. People always go like, oh, Nintendo is like the smaller like resolutions and like they're not as up to date, but like every game I can think of, like ARMS, 60 FPS, Splatoon, 60 FPS, like they're going to hit these and they're really rigid. Like they're not compromising. So I think that's why there's no split screen.
Which is interesting because they're okay with dropping to 30 on Mario Kart, which can go 4-player 30 FPS. But I think that's like there's something about the way that game plays specifically instead of like a shooter.
But it's strategy-wise, it's different, right? One of the issues, if you guys recall your GoldenEye days, is that you can look at the other screen unless you're playing co-op, right? Co-op games obviously avoid that, but you're looking at somebody's screen, you can quickly pinpoint where they are, what they're doing. Mario Kart is different because you're always moving forward. And like it's okay if the guy behind you sees where you are. Whereas like in Splatoon, you want to sneak off and you want to ink an area and not have the other guy see. I think from the kind of setup, the current setup doesn't lend itself to split screen either. But it would be great to see a co-op mode.
I'd love to play. I'd love to do a co-op mode in
cool.
Splatoon. But I also think that one of the reasons that they're not focusing on 2-player is that they're offering so many other things in the multiplayer realm. You know what I mean? Like there's so many other offerings there that they don't necessarily need a 2-player mode because I think it would be boring to play against one other person.
They had that in Splatoon 1. It was a 1v1 like face off. You just shot balloons, and that was very boring.
But obviously this game has local in it. Right, like the wonderful thing about the Switch is that if you have a friend with one, you always have a multiplayer setup on the go.
It is an interesting sort of diagonal from their philosophy around multiplayer for Switch because everything else has had that in there. But, we'll see what happens.
It's an interesting note, though, that they may just be dedicated to making that thing super smooth. Yeah.
Last question. Taylor Ellison asks, my question has to do with Miis. This past week, I finally moved my Mii over to my Switch. This got me thinking, when you guys created your Mii, did you create one that looks like you, or did you create a unique Mii that doesn't really look like you? I fall into the latter category, and I'm always glad to see my little character wherever he pops up. Thanks for all that you guys do. Taylor from Utah. So yeah, what'd you guys do?
My Mii is like a dead ringer.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, I thought that was George Lucas.
No.
Oh.
No. I feel like my Mii looks just like me.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're right. My Mii, I actually, I think Matt Casamassina created mine. And like he made like the most boring looking face. Because like when people try to do a drawing of me, they always struggle with the fact that I just look like everyone else. Like there's no like giant mole or special glasses, and like so he made the most boring looking person. I kept that one and recreated it over the years.
Over and over, right? I've done the same thing. My Mii is a variation of the one I made the day I got my Nintendo Wii.
Oh, really? See, I've made a different one each time.
Yeah.
Do you have to make it slimmer every couple of weeks?
When I lost some weight this year, my Mii lost some weight too, which was really cool. I got to go in there and
find that
change
adorable.
them up.
So I told Brian I exposed my kids to Police Academy, the movie on Netflix. It's streaming right now. Like I was like, I remember it being better than it was, but it's still like my 11-year-old thought it was hilarious.
Yeah.
It has a lot of boobs in it, and I was like, well, whatever. Yeah. And after he absolutely loved Michael Winslow, so I went on YouTube and I searched IGN Michael Winslow because I know you had him on Up at Noon.
We did, yeah. Greg and I, yeah.
And it was a different person in that show, man. It's like double the Brian.
Yeah, Greg was big too. We were both big boys.
Yeah.
Like,
Well,
you call Greg repeatedly fat in that.
that's called projecting.
Oh, I see. No, but it's obviously awesome that you've been living a healthy lifestyle, but it means you have to redo your meal.
My
all the
me
time.
lost some weight too, so, which is nice. I'm always happy with the sunglass options because I can get like dark aviators and throw those on.
Yeah.
My me's another one that looks a lot like me.
Looks a lot like you.
It's like a very cartoon version of me,
Yeah.
but it's like I'm just like a potato with sunglasses. I'm easy to draw, you know.
Brennan's me looks a lot like him too.
Yeah, on here is since the Wii, I think I've added the goatee and the beard when it started coming in. Now I switch because like if I think usually it's just like the half beard, but then when I first had it on the Wii, it was like the little goatee, and then like it's evolved.
I can tell you, I'm very thankful for coworkers and people I know using me's that look like them because the friend request thing.
That too.
Yeah.
So I had obviously I synced up all my systems. So from mobile to Wii U, I got a ton of friend requests, and they're just a lot of like Zach. Or a lot of like Brian's.
Yeah,
and
or
like,
Dave.
I'm like, I don't know who this is.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know.
I've been pretty diligent this time around of best friending people as they come in that I know who they are. Like I think when I first was setting up my Switch, I was texting Brian and Max and Marty and you guys and being like, hey, send me your code now. And then when they would come through, like you can see, well, you probably can't see, but you guys can see. Like I just have a bunch of people starred.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, I totally agree with you. There's some people that have slipped through the cracks that I've seen their me's and been like, I think that's this person. I think that's who this is.
Well, because it gives you the option for avatars now to be like Star Fox or like Splatoon 8.
Yeah.
And
I have so many that are just like Twilight Princess.
or Mario or something. It's so much easier to me when there's a face I recognize.
Yeah, and I mean, it's just I think it would be a full-time job to go through like once you hit 99 plus to just accept the friend request. So I've slowed down a bunch as well.
Well, I remember like on my Wii, there's like there's like Ron Jeremy and Hitler and Super Mario. There's all these me's on there that I'm like, you can stay on the Wii. You're not coming with me to Switch.
You're not finding Hitler on
they're
the
like, this
Switch?
was funny in 2007 or whatever, but like, no, you guys are sticking here.
And you're
Right
like,
here.
I can create.
It's like they're
Hitler
like bad
on,
political cartoons.
That's
I'm like, get
terrible.
out of here, dude.
Hilarious.
Like a weird Chewbacca and stuff like that.
Well, good talking, guys.
Yeah.
These are all the chats we have for you this week. Sorry, Damon. No, that was Nintendo Voice Chat for this week. I hope you enjoyed our little discussions and you're excited about Splatoon. As we are. Next week, as I said, I'll be out. We'll have Sam and the crew in here talking about a whole bunch of stuff, and I think Casey's going to talk a little bit more about the 2DS because she went deeper and reviewed it. So if you want more impressions, you're going to get them next week as well. And then the week after, we'll be back with the full cast here, and hopefully by then, actually, Splatoon will be out.
That's right.
And we'll
Probably much more on multiplayer by then.
We'll have a ton of experience with multiplayer, and then, as Nintendo goes, there'll be that surprise announcement that we can really bust open and talk about. So NVC is our weekly Nintendo show here at IGN. It's not the only show we have. If you if you want to watch Brian, for example, live, he's on Up at Noon with Zach. These two guys did an entire series of Zelda Let's Plays called Link Together, and you guys actually finished it.
We did.
Yeah,
Oh
we just
man,
finished it.
Yeah.
We just
So-
finished it
man,
this
that was a
week.
great episode.
The season finale is really really good.
It's really good.
Cannot believe. So, like, I keep on forgetting that you guys are playing with split Joy-Cons.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, come on, it's so easy. I'm like, oh, wait, no, he can only jump and look.
Yeah.
And, like, it's awesome that you guys are, like, left brain, right brain.
Dude,
Like,
we were
Brian.
riding that high all day yesterday.
Yeah,
I
that's
still am
true.
today.
Yeah.
That's
Like,
awesome. So, are we going to get inked?
Yeah, we're kicking around some ideas. I don't think we're going to play through an entire game again, but we'll do one-offs for different games. I think this is going to get really fun now, and we'll open it up.
Yeah,
I think there's a chance
we're coming
to,
back with ARMS. And
Yeah.
I think ARMS is going to be a real, just a
Yeah.
real mess.
Awesome.
Yeah, we're kicking around ideas for that and Odyssey and everything else.
So if you
Stay tuned.
if you enjoy this show and you listen to the audio podcast version, please leave us a review on iTunes. It's not just to show us that we did a good job, but also, obviously the discovery systems on these platforms. So if you give something a great rating, it'll be exposed to more people. We'll get more listeners, and we can do this forever and ever and ever. And then, check out Beyond Game Scoop Unlocked. We've got a great interview show, a monthly interview show called Unfiltered. It's an hour long where Ryan sits down with an industry maven. And then obviously the IGN show on Disney XD. If you want more, if you want behind the scenes behind-the-scenes looks at what it's like here at the office, tune in on Disney XD on the 17th at 9:30 p.m.
I think, 9 or 9:30.
9:30 p.m., that's right. And then come back for our Comic-Con coverage. So that's it for NVC. Thank you very much, and get the thing.
Don't get cooked and stay off the hook.
What?